Chambers of the Occult may contain content that might not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, welcome to Chambers of the Occult. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Jay.
Welcome.
Hi.
And we got Alexis.
I said my name.
Yeah, she said her name.
Okay, I heard both of you at the same time and I wasn't sure what name came through. If
My
you're
name's
back,
Alexis.
yes, sorry. If you're here to listen to episode 2, congratulations on sticking around.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming back. Don't know why you did, but we're grateful.
We really are.
And once again, we have 3 stories for you.
Right.
Kai, would you
So
like
I'll be
to...
starting it off with a true crime, and then we'll progress after that. All right. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Cool. So,
Oh yeah. Nothing gone.
Oh.
She's ready.
Sorry.
All right.
Took you a while.
Okay, you're ready. Okay, cool. So my story today is a true crime case. It's Luca Magnotta and the murder of June Lin. So this actually happened in Montreal, Canada in 2012. So
Recent.
yeah, actually. So pretty recent. When I was doing some research for this, there was interviews from like Justin Trudeau, like the Prime Minister of Canada. And I was like, this is so recent. Like this happened not long ago.
Yeah, because that was 12 years ago.
Yep. So, the victim, his name was June Lin. So he was a university student that moved to Montreal, Canada. He originally came from Wuhan, China. And so he came to Canada for school, and he basically just said that Canada was a more liberal place. He was not openly gay, but he was just a lot more comfortable in Canada. That's why he did move. So the murder did happen in May of 2012. And June Lin, he was stabbed multiple times and also dismembered by a man named Luca Rocco Magnotta. So that was the name of the murderer. I and lots of people tend to use June Lin's name rather than Luca's name, because really the entire reason Luca did commit this murder is for fame. He wanted notoriety, and so it almost feels wrong to keep saying his name and give him that
acknowledgement. Yeah,
exactly.
It's like, yeah, fair. Okay. So it's the story of Luca.
Yeah. So Luca Magnotta and June Lin. Luca Magnotta in May of 2012, he stabbed multiple times June Lin with an ice pick. He then dismembered June Lin's body. And what he did is the police found the remains of the torso, the arms, and the legs, but what they didn't find were his hands, his feet, and his head.
Were they like spread around or like all chopped up and all thrown at the same place?
So what happened is it was an apartment building. It was found outside in the dumpster, right outside by the janitor of the building. He found an old suitcase that was locked up, and he was really curious as what was inside because he said he saw maggots coming out of this suitcase. So He opened it up and he couldn't believe his eyes, of course. That's when he called the police. So the police went on this manhunt and they were trying to figure out where these hands, these feet, and this head was. And it wasn't long after when these body parts started turning up on the doorsteps of the Canadian political party's head offices. So Luca...
They were getting
Yeah.
shipped.
They were getting shipped. So Luca had shipped the hands and the feet to the Conservative Party's office, the Liberal Party's office. He wanted to make himself known with this. And again, that ties into the fame of it all.
No one gets left behind. Like, yeah, it sounds like was there like letters attached to them?
There was. So the police only ever actually released one of the letters because they didn't want any copycats in the future to say any of the others. But yeah, he did include letters with these, and it was basically just a big fuck you to the people that that were trying to find him, because he lived for the chase. He wanted the attention. He wanted the fame, and so that's really why he did that. But this murder it's a much bigger thing than it actually is right now, and it starts a few years prior is when the build-up to all of this did happen. So Luca Magnotta's real name actually is not Luca Magnotta. He was born on July 24th, 1982 in Scarborough, Ontario, Canada, and he was named Eric Clinton Kirk Newman. Kind of a long name. Every time I try to pronounce it, I'm like, why such a long name? Eric Clinton Kirk Newman. It's like a tongue twister.
It sounds like the parents took a name from like different TV shows and then put them together.
That's kind of what they did. Like the Clinton, the Newman, they were all homages to like actors that their parents had liked, essentially.
Oh.
So I find that really interesting. They just threw a bunch of names together. And honestly, yeah. I don't like the guy, of course, but I think Luca Magnotta is cooler than Eric Clinton Kirk Newman.
Yeah. Also, do you know what his zodiac sign is?
What?
He's a Leo.
What is it? He's a Leo.
He's a Leo. Of course, he would want the attention.
And it's... So, okay, where was I? I don't know, speaking of attention, it's not funny, but in years prior, he really tried to make himself known as like a model, an actor. He even, really took up lots of like pornography acting and things like that.
He never made it.
And he never did. He had many attempts at notoriety. Like throughout his lifetime, he auditioned for reality TV shows, but he was never let in. He was shut down. And of course, that probably was what helped to drive him to doing something so extreme as well.
Yeah. Was there like knowledge of like the type of personality of person he was?
Yeah, he was very self-centered. He was very vain, and he really was very cold to anything and anyone outside of himself. He only cared about himself. So much so to the point that throughout like his career, he would create like different forums on the internet, Facebook pages and stuff, literally just fan pages of himself that were created by himself. And he would flood them with different fake profiles that he made, just saying how hot he was, how in love they were with him.
But it was all him.
It was all him, yeah. Bro really didn't make it, and he was like, let me just kill someone. That'll get me the fame I want. Yeah. But before this, he definitely had to work up to it. He didn't just start killing out of nowhere. He actually sort of did have like an early background of criminal history. So in 2005, he was convicted of 1 count of impersonation and 3 counts of fraud.
Who did he impersonate?
He impersonated she's like a mentally disabled woman, and so he took advantage of her, and he convinced her to just apply for a bunch of credit cards, and he then purchased $10,000 worth of products from Sears, the brick audio video stores. And then on top of that, he was also accused of sexually assaulting that said woman, but the charges were dropped. So he did get convicted of that, the impersonation, the fraud. He pleaded guilty, and he got a 9-month sentence after that. But it was also noted that Magnotta had some psychiatric issues. I think he was diagnosed with schizophrenia when he was a little bit younger. So that's sort of the start of his criminal activity. But that was way back in 2005. And he kind of dropped off after that. Nobody heard much from him. He was just trying to, gain his popularity. And it wasn't until 2010 when a YouTube video was posted, and it was titled "One Boy, Two Kittens." And that was posted by Luca Magnotta.
No.
And you guys want to take a guess on what was included in this video?
No, I genuinely don't. It just sounds bad.
Yeah, it really was. Alexis?
Is she muted? Hello?
Hello? Stand by, technical difficulties.
Again. I feel like every time it's with her, she might have been trying to comment the whole time and she's just not able to.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
I was saying.
Oh.
Sorry,
Okay.
I was saying I don't think I want to know, but I know I need to know.
Okay.
It's a lot worse than you guys would even think. I'm going to preface that. So, these videos, or this video and other later videos, they do still exist on the internet. They're very hard to find because they've been, pretty much wiped from as much as possible. I've only seen clips of them myself. I haven't seen any of the full videos whatsoever.
Okay, but now you gotta tell us what it is, even though I don't see it. I want to know.
So, what happened? It's a very grainy video. It's shot in like a point of view, like from Luca. At the time, of course, we didn't know it was Luca, but now we do. It was just in a bedroom, very plain white walls, a tiny little bed with a gross wolf blanket, like bed sheet right on top.
Okay.
And that actually seems insignificant now, but it came more into play a little bit later. I'll explain that. But in this video, it starts off with 2 kittens that are sitting on his bed. And at the start, it looks pretty innocent, pretty nice. He's petting them, he's caressing them, softly playing with them even. He then transitions to setting the camera down. And from there, we get an angle of him grabbing these kittens, putting them into a vacuum seal bag, and you hear the sound of a vacuum turn on. And you can put together what happens after that.
Oh, no.
So, this video of these kittens being suffocated goes viral. People are enraged by it. They're upset. They're up in arms. And it gets to the point where actually some like internet sleuths, they get on the case. They form a Facebook group and they dive headfirst into finding out who this vacuum kitten killer is. That's what they initially named him.
Was there did he show like his face on the video, or was it just like
No,
no face?
so he was wearing like a thin blue hoodie with the hood over him the entire time, and the camera was really positioned behind him, but he would turn and so you could see his side profile. He had like kind of bushy, like fringed, like black hair in front of him, but you got a pretty decent side profile out of the videos as well. Never got to look at what he did look like though. So this video blows up. And it gains the attention of so many people who at first maybe think it's a joke or maybe can't believe that it's real, but eventually it sets in. So now there is a whole following of trying to find out who this man is.
Yeah.
These people online, they pick apart. They watch this video frame by frame by frame. They look at every piece of info and detail in that room. And one of the biggest things that comes up is that, first of all, they see the electrical outlets on the wall. And they narrow down the countries by that. They know it's somewhere in North America. They look at the doorknobs. They point to North America. But then the thing is that in the background of this video, they hear what was later identified as like two Russian men speaking in Russian. And so they're like, okay, we got him. He's in Russia. But they realize that there's a click at the end of the video and the sound cuts out. And at that point, they know it was a recording.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Yes. So at this point, they know that this is for attention. They know that Luca wants the chase. They know that this is what he's trying to do. And that's when it really gets intense.
He's always wanted the chase, but this is like the first moment where he actually
really did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this happens, and you know that that wolf bed sheet that I mentioned?
Oh no.
So they take that, they try and look for that exact blanket, and they find one single eBay listing of the exact blanket that was made, and they check it, and it has been purchased only one time ever.
By him.
So they're like, okay, we're getting somewhere. But then they realize that the seller ships internationally, and it was shipped internationally, so they're not sure. But the seller was based out of the United States, but it was shipped internationally, which means it kind of narrows down, it cancels out the US for his location.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could have been anywhere.
Exactly. So it doesn't help much, but they're getting somewhere. Now, for maybe the next year, this group online is trying to figure out who this man is.
They're committed.
They're committed. He kind of drops off. He stays a little bit on the down low. He doesn't want to exactly get caught just yet. Now, it wasn't until November of 2011, a year later, that he posts another video.
What's this one called?
Bath time, lol. And
Carry on.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. And in this video, it starts, again, grainy camera, him holding it. He's in a bathroom, and there's a bathtub with water right in front of it. And from the left side of the frame swings in a cat that is taped to a stick that he's holding.
And I'm
in the video,
and screaming.
Yep. You can see the fear in the cat's eyes. And
did you find this clip as well?
I saw a little bit of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
This case is horrible.
Yeah.
Like when I tell you it was hard to research this, it was. Yeah. So he drowns the cat. And again, everyone is enraged and everyone wants this guy dead.
Question.
And I did too. Yeah.
Do you know if he like posted it under the same name or like the same account? Like how were they able to know it was the same guy?
So he actually did post through a different couple accounts, but they all knew it because it was the same like profile of him. It was the same grainy camera quality. I believe, I forget which one it is, but like at one point for one of the videos, he himself like sent it to that Facebook group under like a fake account. Like, which meant that he was in the Facebook group and he was following the investigation on himself.
Yeah, and he was like either they're getting warm or they're getting colder, and for whatever reason, he sent them a video.
He gave them enough to know that it was him, but not put any actual details out there for them to know.
Mm-hmm.
So that video happens. But a month goes by, and he posts another video. So this time, he likes the attention. He wants to be chased, and he's taunting them. He's taunting them by sending them more videos.
Of like, you can't catch me, try it.
Exactly.
How long was the gap between the first and the second video?
It was about... like a year and a few months. So
then he moved from that to just 1 month.
To 1 month, yeah. So in this third video, it's actually him feeding a cat to a python snake. He lets the cat go in a room, and you see a snake slither in the background, and it strikes really too fast to really even notice what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, these videos gain somewhat of like national, like news exposure. Because before this, it was really just the online like sleuthing community that was really up in arms about this. But at this point, these videos have been on the news, and it's gotten so much attention, which Luca probably loves.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Exactly. So after that does happen, because of all of the popularity and everything like that, there's actually like there was like a reality TV show of like pet rescuers. I forget what it's called exactly, but they joined in on the investigation as well. Okay. And they actually posted up a $5,000 reward to bring the kitten killer to justice.
Is that what they called him?
The kitten killer, yep. Okay. The vacuum kitten killer, yeah. So
were they do something?
Sorry?
Were they able to do something?
Yes and no. The talk and the investigations in these Facebook groups continued until eventually there was a man, he went by like his Facebook profile name was like Jamsy crams a lot in his ass.
Okay.
And he started posting. He posted like a YouTube link of sorry, I'm blanking what it was, but I think it was him like killing a cat or something like that. And people were like, oh my gosh, like, this is the guy, like, is he in our group? And he posted this. So they straight up just ask him, are you the kitten killer? And he says yes. He says yes. So people are like, we got him. We found him. But did they? They don't know where he lives. They don't know where he's at. They don't know how to find him.
Yeah.
Eventually they find out that this Jamsy guy, they find his real identity, and they find out that he committed suicide because of the backlash that he was getting. And that also meant that he was not the kitten killer.
Oh.
So throughout this process, there was like the guilt that came from thinking that maybe we got a person killed, but really, that's ultimately not what it was. But people were so adamant that it was this guy, that so many people completely gave up. They stopped looking for him. They were like, we found him. We found the guy. There was no point in looking anymore. Most people did. But there was still a couple more people who really, didn't believe it. And they kept on investigating.
So there were the ones that have like doubts when it came to like, yes, I am.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the two main people, one of the guys in that group, his name was John Green, not the modern John Green we know.
The author?
Not the author John Green, but it was another guy named John Green.
Can you imagine?
No, when I first researching it, I was like, John Green? I was like, what? Why did you get involved with this?
Someone with the same name.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
John Green and a lady named Deanna Thompson. And so those were the two that like spearheaded this online investigation towards it. So in 2011, that's really when the investigations and when those videos take off. So Deanna and John, they continue investigating, and eventually they figure out that Luca was located in Toronto, Canada. And that's where he recorded those kitten killing videos. So what they do is they reach out to the Toronto police, and they try and get support. Of course, they're not believed at first, but they present enough information to where they're like, okay, well, at least go check out, what's going on. Oh, what the heck? I forgot to mention, throughout this process, they get comments. They get messages on Facebook saying the person you're looking for is named Luca Magnotta. So
wait, was it him giving his own name away?
Yes, it was. So he literally logged in and sent them his own name, basically confirming this guy, confirming that he was in Canada, and from there they narrowed it down to Toronto. It's pretty amazing what they did, and I think there's too much detail for me to really go into here. But actually, there's a Netflix documentary on this case as well. It's called "Don't Fuck with Cats," which I think is a really good name.
I think it's appropriate.
Great documentary. If you're interested in this case, definitely check that out. It's probably going to do a better job at telling the story than I will, just because it's told in like 3 hours of time. I'm doing like a quarter of that probably. But yeah, so they eventually find out that it's this guy that they're looking for is named Luca Magnotta. They find out that he's in Toronto, Canada. And so they contact the police. They actually send, they go through his social media. We lost Alexis.
I think her audio was messed up. So she's like, I'm going to log out and then log back in. Okay.
My audio keeps messing up. I promise I'm listening.
Okay, as long as you're listening.
I kind of like heard like a little whisper here and there, and then I heard nothing from you, and I was like, you can comment on the story, right?
Yeah, no, I was trying to, but okay, am I loud enough?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, I'm sorry, continue.
No, you're good.
Okay.
So John and Deanna, they never give up. They are nonstop tracking this guy for the entire 2+ year process. They go through his social media, they track his posts to see where he's at, and eventually they start, using Google Maps to literally walk down the streets where they think he's posted his pictures from to figure out these locations, and they find his apartment building. They find a picture where he took it from. So they send out a Toronto officer.
Mhm.
He talks to the people at the apartment, the owner, the manager, and figures out that a man named Luca Magnotta did live there, but he recently just moved to Russia.
Oh, whoa. Oh, whoa.
And so they tell us that, or they tell them that,
Mhm.
so Luca's gone, but is he really, Like how
Yeah.
it wasn't actually confirmed that he was. Maybe he just left a little bit, moved a little bit away. So after this, though, they do kind of lose him. Um, they don't know where he's at. They, uh, he goes quiet for a bit,
He
and
knew
there's
what he
not
was.
much they can do. What?
He knew what he was doing.
Oh yeah, he knew what he was doing. And so this period of just waiting drives like Deanna and John like crazy. They
Yeah.
need to know what's going to happen. They've been tracking this guy, following this guy for over a year now, almost 2
Mhm.
years. And actually in this process it gets to the point
So
where
close.
what?
And then they get so close.
They get so close, yeah. They get so close they put themselves at risk even.
Yeah.
Because actually at one point, so Deanna, she lives in Las Vegas, or she did, and so she worked at like a casino there. One time she got a message on Facebook to a video link, and that video was like a point of view camera of like walking through the casino that Deanna worked at, which meant that Luca knew
Yeah.
where she lived and
That's
worked.
That was meant as a
Um,
threat.
scary.
exactly,
That's scary.
exactly. It was. So they really committed to this, is what I'm trying to say. Like Deanna and
Yeah.
John, they were in this, and it wasn't just like some silly internet thing that was going on.
Yeah. No, I feel like at that point they're like already too involved to step back.
100%. Like, how can you just let this go? How can you just let
Right.
this happen? Like even it happened already, but it was like I was watching this documentary, I was watching those clips, I was doing my research, and I was like devastated by what was happening. And I was
Yeah.
like, how could someone do this? And I'm so glad that people were trying to catch him for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Respect.
Like, yeah, I don't know. And like I've researched true crime cases before and things like that, but something about this one, it just put me in like just not a great mindset. And I think it just goes to show that it's like the torture of those animals and everything was just it's inhuman, and it's
Yeah.
not cool.
No, not at all.
Anyway, so he's dormant for a little bit, and it isn't until May 25th of 2012 when another video is uploaded to
Oh.
bestgore.com, and it's titled "One Lunatic, One Ice Pick."
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
And so
once
following
again,
with the theme of those previous videos, yeah,
Yeah, I don't really think you need to say it.
yes. The victim is, tied to the bed. He gets stabbed. I don't think I need to
Wait, victim
talk
like
more.
person or was it a cat?
Person.
Oh.
He had moved on. He'd upgraded. But the worst part about this is that Deanna and John and the internet people in their small private group, they knew this was going to happen.
Yeah. It was only a time before it escalated.
Not only that, like logically, but they had I forget if it was like a message from Luca or a note or something, but in a sort of cryptic way, Luca said, you'll see me again, but next time it won't be pussies, is how he put it.
Yeah.
They knew. They knew he was going to move on to murder. And so, of course, what Deanna and John did is they reached out to the Montreal police department, because at this point they knew that he was in Montreal. They had gone through the pictures. They had found, through Google Maps that he was in Montreal. And the police department completely ignored them.
Whoa.
They did not receive the messages. And Deanna eventually, even turned to Twitter to, publicly try to get their attention, but of course nothing happened.
And this was all before they got that video, right?
Before the murder video, yeah.
Okay.
So, we later find out that, I don't know, they weren't responding because the lead detective was on vacation or something like that, which is, come on, you should probably be checking those frantic emails.
And if that's your only detective for all of the city,
you really do. And it's crazy. Deanna, John, everyone, this is the most furious they've ever been. There's the guilt, there's the shame, there's the sadness, there's the helplessness of them trying, of them getting any notice from the Montreal department saying that there is going to be a murder and is going to be committed by a man named Luca Magnotta.
Oh.
So there's that helplessness there. And once they see that video, it all became real.
Yeah.
That's when they decided to get involved.
Exactly. They knew. They were like, we told you there was going to be a murder, and here it is. Now what are you going to do about it?
I can only imagine the guilt that they felt because they knew it was coming.
Exactly. And that's I don't know. I would never want to be involved in any part of this, but if I dedicated so much of my past 2 years now trying to catch this son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And then he goes off and murders someone, and we knew he was going to because he told us he was going to, but the police didn't listen. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. And that's the crazy thing.
It's the fact that you have no control over what happens that makes it worse.
Yeah. And so I know
you realize. Go ahead.
Oh, I know Deanna, she took it really hard. She retreated and she went silent and she just felt terrible for it. What were you gonna say, Jay?
No, because I was gonna say that you have all this evidence of previous, things that he's done to animals.
Yeah.
And then you get this letter and then you go to the police. And then they say they can't do anything or they ignore it. And then that's when you feel powerless because you're but there's so much evidence here and it's all just been ignored.
Yeah.
Yeah. This case. So Montreal Police Department gets on it. They actually didn't find out about it through the video though. What had happened is if you remember how I mentioned that janitor found that suitcase?
Yeah.
Wait, was that the body?
Yes.
No.
That was the body. So yeah, in the video, in the murder video, it shows the multiple stabbings, it shows the dismemberment.
It shows everything.
It also even shows a bit of
Yeah.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go there. But also in that video you can hear a dog, and at some point you can also see that dog.
Mm-hmm.
So the janitor, he finds the suitcase, he finds the horrors that are inside, and he calls the police. Of course, they come right over, they investigate, and they find the torso, they find the arms, the legs. But like I mentioned, they didn't find the head or the hands or the feet, and they're just perplexed by this. But they start looking through the other trash because it was dumped right next to a dumpster. They see some other blood, and they find a shirt that we later find out was Jun Lin's. We find receipts, or you actually see like prescriptions from a local pharmacy for the name of Luca Rocco Magnata. And so the police get this name, but their first thought is Luca is who we have here. Like, this is Luca's body.
That's the body of Luca.
Exactly, because that's the logical thing.
Because they were finding clothing, body parts, and
exactly
prescription drugs for Luca. Yeah.
So the primary detective, she's like, okay, well, I need to, figure out if this is the Luca that I'm looking for. She continues to look through that trash, and she finds a little black dog in the dumpster, dead as well.
It was the one from the video. Wasn't it?
It was the dog from the video. Yeah. She doesn't know that, of course.
Yeah.
But, everything kind of gets put together later on, and it's just like, it's crazy that one group, like online, watched it happen, and that's how they knew. But then the police, they only found the remains in the body after it happened. And so they're sort of working separately. And it wasn't until that detective finally gets back from vacation and checks the email and is let known about all this thing. And so
Please
finally, sorry?
Please tell me that the detective is mad that they didn't tell him before.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, he better be, because that would be as well.
So finally, the police get the video and they watch it, and they're like, wow, like you guys were right. And for once, we are watching a murder happen. So that's when that investigation really, really takes off. The police go to search the apartment that they knew Luca was staying in, but they find that it's completely clean. There's nothing wrong in there, but the officers actually say that, like, they're very suspicious about it because it smells like chemicals. Like, it had just been cleaned, of course. Yeah. So they continue to look for this guy, but they know that he dumped the body, so of course they're gonna check the cameras. And they see it was like 2-3 a.m. Luca made like 20 plus trips back and forth, just disposing things into the garbage. And so at this point they're like, okay, we think we have a suspect. We need to find him. And then they, that's when the body parts start showing up at the political headquarters. And so what they do is they grab these packages, they can intercept them, and they track down the post offices that they were sent from.
That's right, because the body parts got mailed to them.
Exactly. So you can track down where it was sent out from. They go to that post office, they get the camera footage. Again, it's the same exact guy. So at this point, they're like, yes, this is our suspect. This is our suspect. So they start to look up after this how Junlin even got there in the first place, the victim. How he lured him in, how they met. So they check the footage going into the apartment building. They see at night, the night before the body was found, they see Junlin and Luca Magnato walk in together. Later that night, they see Luca walk out alone. And then he comes back in a little bit later, and he leaves again. But I think one of the funny things, it's not funny, but it's not a better way to describe it, but it shows Luca's personality again is like in the security camera footage, there's this big mirror that is in like the lobby of the apartment when he walks in.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're watching it, he just stops at the mirror for like a minute and just like checks himself out and makes his hair look good. And he seems completely unfazed that he just murdered somebody.
Like it's just another day for him.
Exactly. So he did not care. It was for the attention. It was for the fame.
Yeah.
And he takes this life, and that's yeah. So
it's almost like gotta make sure I look good for like either when they catch me or we're like yeah.
So after this, they track down all those packages with the body parts. So his, they get sent to the Conservative Party, the Liberal Party. A foot was sent to a boarding school, an elementary school. It was just anywhere to get like the attention. Yeah. So eventually, they know Luca is their suspect. They're trying to find him, and Luca being Luca, he flees the country. So
he does leave.
He does leave. He goes international. An arrest warrant is issued for him by the Montreal police.
At that point, they already have pictures, right? Or are all the pictures from like the cameras?
So they have the camera footage, but they basically like confirm that it's Luca from this footage. So he gets like a Canadian, arrest warrant for first-degree murder and all of this other stuff. Later in May 31st of 2012, he actually gets like a red notice from Interpol. So like the international police are on a manhunt for him at this point.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it's good, but at the same time, isn't it giving him exactly what he wants?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the problem. It's like, how are you supposed to
handle the situation?
Handle this without giving the attention to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So he traveled through Europe. He made his way through France, through Germany, through these other European countries, and they tracked him down. So they tracked him through his time going.
During that whole time, he didn't upload another video, did he?
No, I don't believe he did.
Okay. Doesn't mean he didn't do anything, but
no, it does not. Like he certainly could have done some stuff.
But it seems like he's doing it for attention, not just
Yep.
So no one finds out. Yeah.
So they figure out that he flew to Paris from Montreal on May 26th. He used a fake passport for that. They traced his phone signal to a hotel. They investigate the hotel. But of course he's gone by they leave. So he, travels then to Germany, to Berlin, Germany. And I think one of the most, I guess, ironic parts of this case is how Luca was caught. He was eventually caught and arrested on June 4th, 2012, by the Berlin police. He was found at an internet cafe reading news stories about himself. So.
Okay. I thought you were going to say that he got caught like in a pet shop, but he would get caught reading about himself.
It's interesting that you bring up pet shop because one of the things they learned about him is that like he he used Craigslist ads to find the kittens that he was getting and to also find Junlin as well. But one thing he put in his like descriptions for looking for a cat, he was like, "Oh, like my parents owned a pet shop," just to give some like
comfort
trust.
that, like,
I guess, yeah,
one
exactly. Yeah, and so that's where he was getting the kittens from, and that's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Magnotta was arrested June 4th, 2012. He appeared in court the next day on June 5th. He was then extradited back to Canada. So he was given back to Canada on June 8th of 2012, where he was basically just placed into solitary confinement at a prison there. So he actually was his trial was delayed for a really long time, actually, and he had his like preliminary hearing on like June 19th, June 21st was that, or sorry, like early meetings, but it wasn't until March of 2013. So like the next year that he had a preliminary hearing. And then he, in 2014, was actually when all of the final charges were like finalized. So super recent, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
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 You know, like what they sentenced him to, or like for how long?
Yeah. So he was sentenced to a life sentence and then 19 years on top of that as well. For the other charges. So, yeah, he is still currently serving his sentence now.
No,
but
that's
good. Yeah.
Do you know what delayed it so much?
What delayed it?
Or was it like you were not able to figure it?
Honestly, not sure. I think it was just like it was so complex of what he had done and the like international aspect of it that it was just hard to very like iron out the legal proceedings that they needed to do.
Yeah.
So also throughout his like trial period, one of his lawyers resigned, and I'm sure that delayed things as well. Honestly, I think it goes to show that his lawyer was probably just sick of him. Like, like being a criminal defense lawyer is already like bad, especially when you know like they are a murderer.
Yeah.
But I feel like Luca was just so like self-centered and narcissistic that his lawyer just like couldn't take it, and I don't blame him.
No, neither.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, charges of first-degree murder, indignity to the human body, destructive of obscene materials, criminal harassment, all sorts of different charges on him. But surprisingly, I don't know if it like was detailed here, but like it doesn't seem like he has any charges for like animal cruelty or anything.
That's what
like
I was gonna ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other
which
thing
I find interesting.
So sometimes, I don't know how accurate it is or if it applies to like Canadian law or something. If someone has like multiple charges against them, like in this case, like also animal abuse, they could drop the animal abuse. And that way, for some reason, he's found not guilty or it's a mistrial. Now they have another thing to charge him with.
Okay, I get it.
So sometimes they don't want to stack them on top of each other because in case like something goes wrong,
they need something to fall back on.
Yeah,
then
they have something to fall back on.
That makes sense. Actually, that would.
That's something I learned recently.
Cool.
Yeah. So sometimes like we hear like cases that people have like so many things against them, but like they drop certain charges, it's for that reason. In case like there's a mistrial or they don't have enough evidence to convict them.
Yeah.
Because they can do like, at least here, like in the US, they can like double jeopardy, but they have different charges to go against them.
So the case also had like some pretty big reactions in China as well, because Junlin, of course, he was a student who came from China, and so it traveled back. The reactions were pretty big. Some people thought it was like, racially motivated or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy that like it even went over to China, and that's how bad this case got.
Yeah. Do you know like what listing he had on Craigslist?
Yeah. So, for which one? Like to meet Junlin or to get the kittens?
No, Junlin. Yeah.
It was a Craigslist listing. It was like looking for a sexy guy to have fun with, and he was like, "We're gonna film a video, and it's gonna be a fun video." That's what he put in the listing. Of course, we know what that video is, unfortunately. But Junlin didn't. So it was, especially back then, Craigslist was used by a lot of like male for male hookups and things like that, and so it really didn't look suspicious. It didn't look off or anything like that. It blended in with everything else.
He might have done it before, and that's why he's like, "Oh, like it's fine. I've done it before."
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how old he was?
How old Junlin was when he got murdered? He was, I want to say 33.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, he was 33, and then Luca was 29, I believe. So, Luca was still chasing that fame, and that's what it got to him.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
No, you're good. You're good.
Go ahead.
I didn't really have much to say, so.
I don't know. Hearing all that, it made me want to cry a little bit.
No, seriously, it was tough.
Really sad. Yeah.
This is like animal cruelty, of course, murder when it comes to like a person. It was a lot. And the fact that you watched those clips.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to.
Some of them were through the documentary Don't Fuck with Cats. Some of them were also me like trying to find the video and view a little bit more of it.
Yeah.
But it was tough. Yeah.
Thank you, Kai.
I literally texted Alexis. I was like, I can't do this shit, man. I was like, this is I was like, how are people like this?
Yeah.
People are horrible.
It's
so sad to see what people are capable of and what their thought process is. They have no remorse or compassion for people or animals.
Yep.
And
it's those people that make me lose faith in humanity. But then there's the people with the Facebook group that I'm like, no, like there is good people out there.
So one more thing I want to add is that Luca Magnotta is actually married currently.
Oh God.
He got married to another inmate in 2017. His name's Anthony Jolin. And Anthony is also a convicted murderer. So they're married. They're entitled to their visits to each other. They now are serving their sentences at 2 different prisons, but they still get to visit each other, apparently. So
that's so
sweet. To visit each other.
Yeah.
Sorry, but my thought process is that
Your thought?
I don't know. Maybe don't let 2 convicted felons murdered people, visit each other.
Yeah, they probably realized that, and that's like why they separated them to separate prisons, I think. But
wow,
crazy.
I do want to ask, where was that documentary on?
Netflix. Really good. It's like 3-hour-long episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's like, it has like real interviews and like recounts from like Deanna Thompson, John Green, the officers who in Montreal who are involved, with lots of people. So it's a really good watch. Definitely suggest it.
A day that we're feeling emotionally strong.
Yeah, emotionally able to take that in. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, after what you told us, and like, yeah, for sure. It can't just be like a day like I'm bored. No.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, cool. Wow.
Well, thank you guys for listening.
Oh, thank you.
for sharing.
I'm gonna take a big breath of water.
Yeah, get a water break. Wow. Meanwhile, Alexis can start telling us about.
Kind of nervy. Okay.
Nah, you're good.
So there was a lot on this story. I've tried my best to condense it down. But I just kind of want to give a warning that there is a lot. I do want to say this. I don't want to get into specifics as to who the suspects are for this case. Just because I don't want to give out any false information since these are suspects.
Is it a recent case?
No, it's not recent at all.
Okay,
but it's unsolved.
It's unsolved. It's unsolved, and the murderer is unidentified.
Better spoil it.
Okay,
right,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry.
Trying to avoid spoilers and leads with the biggest spoiler of all.
It's
unsolved. Cut it out. Anyways, stop. Okay. My case is under the Axeman of New Orleans. Or Nolens.
New Orleans.
Nolens.
You just like offended like everybody from Louisiana.
I know. I was gonna like, oh, sorry, New Orleans. Okay, so this takes place, New Orleans, Louisiana. So, as I've mentioned, the Axeman is unidentified, but he did murder 6 people and injured another 6 people within this, the year of 1918 until 1919. And there are a lot of different patterns, a lot of things that, crime analysis and criminologists have observed. But again, it is still left unsolved due to the lack of kind of evidence. So the Axeman, he would often break into the victims' homes, and he would actually kill them with the victims' weapons that they had in their home, either a bat or an axe, like their own axe, or sometimes he would use a straight razor. And
he would break in unarmed and then arm himself with something in the house.
Exactly. Yes. But
resourceful.
A lot of people thought he was just a robber, and he wanted to, or he murdered these people in order to cover his identity. But within all the murders that he held, there were no evidence that he even took anything from their victims' homes.
Oh.
Yeah, which is, in my opinion, even worse. But he had this pattern of breaking in through the back of people's homes, removing a panel of the back of the door with a chisel. And he would leave the panel and the chisel right on the floor by the door for the police to find. But they'd noticed that there's no fingerprints left behind, no evidence of any DNA. And so he kind of...
I mean, I would imagine that's one of the things that they were able to connect and be like, it's the same person.
Yes. Yeah, that's the way that they would be able to kind of make sure that these are the same killings. But Um, he would be known to attack their victims' homes, but not actually take anything from them, which is really bad. But
Mm-hmm.
another pattern that they have noticed is that he was specifically targeting Italian Americans or Italian immigrants. So it is possible that all of
Oh.
his killings were racially motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also been, in some cases, crime analysis have observed that he might have been tied to the mafia as well, which is
God
interesting.
damn.
Yeah, there's a lot of different theories on this case. There's a theory that he would only kill men because they would get in the way of him killing the women he would be specifically targeting in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
There's a theory that it was actually inspired by jazz music. So the Axeman actually wrote a letter, and the letter is interesting. I will read it, but it does actually mention some interesting things in it. I'm gonna pull it up right now so I can read it to you guys.
All right.
Yes.
But it says, oh, let me find it. I should have been more prepared for that.
No,
Yeah,
you're
at least
good.
know what you're looking for.
I'm not gonna lie, I let out a little bit of a giggle when you said the Axeman because it sounded like the X-Men.
Yeah,
And I was
I realized that.
like,
Yeah. No, and then
Okay,
as
you can
you
still
start-
hear
go
me,
ahead.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear it.
Okay, cool. So it starts off with him saying, Hell, March 13th, 1919, esteemed mortal. They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible. Even as the ether that surrounds your earth, I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleans and your foolish police call the Axeman. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall never know. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe besmeared with blood and brains of whom I have sent below to keep me company. If you
God
wish,
damn.
if you wish, you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me. Of course, I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offense at the way they conducted their investigations in the past. In fact, they have been seen so utterly stupid as to not only amuse me, but His Satanic Majesty, Francis Joseph, etc., but tell them to beware. Let them know, let them not try to discover what I am, for it were better that they were never born than to incur the wrath of the Axeman. I don't think there is any need of such a warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me, as they have in the past. They are wise and know how to keep away from all the harm. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as a most horrible murderer, which I am, but I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will, I could slay thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close relationship with the angel of death. Not to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, on next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition for you people. Here it is. I'm very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well then, so much better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of you people who do not play jazz out there on that specific night will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, and it is about time I leave your earthly home, I will cease my discourse, hoping that thou wilt publish this, that it may go well with thee. I have been, am, and will be the worst spirit that ever existed, either in fact or realm of fantasy, the Axeman. So that's the letter he wrote. Yeah.
Also, as soon as you started saying New Orleans, Axeman, and jazz, I was like, I know who you're talking about. Like, not name-wise, but the only reason I know of him is because of American Horror Story.
Oh, I've never seen American Horror Story, so I don't know.
Did you ever watch it, Kai?
Yeah, I've watched the first and second season, but I not much after that.
I think it's the Coven. Yeah, it's Coven.
Oh, the Coven. Okay.
Like, the Axeman's literally walking down the street with, like, an axe, I think. And I think, like, the inner monologue is, like, that letter. Like, they shorten it for sure. But you can hear houses playing jazz. And then he hears one that's not playing, and that's the one he goes into.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good thing I'm learning the drums. Let me play some jazz so I don't, like... But bro literally thinks he's God. Like,
yeah.
He literally
describes
thinks
himself
he's
as a spirit, you know, like the most evil spirit on the hottest hell.
Like not the Holy Spirit, but like the opposite.
No,
like
the complete opposite.
Do you know how many people got, like, killed before he sent out this letter?
How many people got killed before he sent out the letter? I believe it was about 3.
Okay.
3. So he was already murdering people, and then he had murdered 3 more.
He built up his confidence quick then.
Yeah.
He reading that letter. I hate reading that letter.
Jazz every single night.
Honestly, the very start of it sounded like, and honestly was going to be the start of like a cool like poem or something. And I was like, if this guy wasn't like a murderer, like that's actually good. But then it just digressed into like what he wrote, and I was like, oh,
like
I am in close relations with like the angel of death.
Yeah, I was like, what is bro yapping about? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on in his mind. But the night that he mentioned, where he said he was going to kill the Tuesday night, 12:15. No murders were committed that night, which, you know, was good. But yeah.
Do you know if people actually played jazz?
I'm not entirely sure about that, but I would assume so. If I saw that was published and I knew that jazz would save my life, I'd play it. Yeah.
So it wasn't like the police. It was like published on like the newspaper.
It was published on the newspaper. Yeah, it was published on the newspaper. But the police had received it first.
Okay.
And
I think if it was like just published, I'd be like, oh, what is this dude talking about? But like knowing that the police also got it, I think would be like, okay, yeah, I'm playing jazz. Like jazz is going to be on 24/7 in my household.
The police officer was playing jazz.
Yeah.
If that's what's going to save my life, I'll do anything. Plus, I love jazz. I don't know. But I am going to name the victims now. But it is very sad. If you guys want me to get into specifics as to how they passed away, you're more than welcome to ask me those questions. But as a general kind of way to tell this, all their names, because there's so many, I'm not going to get into deep detail.
Okay.
Unless you want to ask me, I'm more than welcome to answer.
I don't know if you can do this, but I was going to ask you, I was like, are you going to name them by like household?
I'm going to name his, like, in order, who he had killed first.
Okay.
Or,
like, just in general, like, they were all killed, like, with an axe.
Yes.
Okay.
There was one that was killed with both an axe and a straight razor. I said, those were his 2 main weapons. But, yes, they were all either killed or injured by an axe.
Okay.
So the first killing, it was actually 2 people. One had survived, one had survived the attack, but had later on passed away. So this is the story. I am going to mispronounce these names. I am so sorry to anybody who's listening, as well as you two. I'm going to do my best, but
we believe
Joseph Maggio, Joseph Maggio was an Italian grocer. He was actually with his wife when he had been attacked. They were both attacked with straight razors. Joseph had survived the attack, but had unfortunately passed away just a few days later. And his wife had passed away not too long after the attack. When it came to Catherine, his wife, Catherine Maggio, she was actually, they both got slit in their throats using the straight razor. God. But Catherine was cut so deeply that her head was nearly severed. Yes. So unfortunately, she did not survive long after. And that actually took place in on May 23rd, 1918. They were both in their homes, sleeping next to each other when the Axeman had broken into their home. And then the next was June 27th, 1918. Louis Bessemer. If you need me to spell out these names, I'm more than welcome to spell them out. But Louis Bessemer and his mistress at the time, Harriet Lowe, were both attacked. Louis had survived the attack and lived afterwards. Harriet had been so severely injured to the fact where she had passed away a few days later in the hospital after she had surgery. And they both got bashed in the head with that he had. And then the next is Anna Schneider. Anna Schneider's is probably one of the sadder ones for me. They're all very sad, don't get me wrong. But this one kind of hit hard. It was August 5th, 1918. She was 8 months pregnant, and she was attacked in her home. Yeah, she had her head bashed in with an axe that she actually had in her home. She thankfully did survive the attack. She does not remember it at all. She has no recollection. She did give birth to a healthy daughter as well after this.
Good.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's the yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was Joseph Romano. Joseph Romano, he was an elderly man, and he was actually living with, or at the time he was with his two nieces, and this took place actually on August 10th, 1918. His two nieces were Pauline and Mary Bruno. And at one point, the nieces had actually heard a commotion going on in the middle of the night when they were at home. And they found Joseph Romano with his head cracked open.
Oh, God.
He had passed away 2 days later. There was...
He survived for 2 days?
He did survive for 2 days.
With his head cracked open?
Yeah.
Wow. That's what I was going to comment on as well. It sounds like a lot of the victims are surviving the initial attack.
Yeah, he didn't follow through. Or he couldn't finish the kill or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anna Schneider, the woman who was pregnant, she actually had her, if I'm correct, actually. Yeah, she had her scalp cut open. And her face was completely covered in blood. So from what it seems like to me, he tortures them to the point where, honestly, if I were them, I'd wish he was dead.
Yeah.
It's less about the actual kill itself and more so how much pain he can inflict.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I've noticed. Yeah.
God.
And then I don't know how to pronounce their last names at all, so I'm giving it my best
shot. Give it a
shot.
try. Yeah.
Charles, Rosie, and Mary Cordomiglia. There we go.
Okay,
Charles, Rosie, and Mary. Charles is an Italian immigrant, father and husband, husband to Rosie, father to Mary, who at the time was 2 years old. They were all in their home when, of course, the Axeman had broken into their home and had attacked. Actually, what happened before was that Charles had heard a noise, and so he went to check up, and when he came back, he noticed that Rosie and Mary had been attacked. Rosie and Mary were attacked in their sleep, and Mary, who was, again, 2 years old, unfortunately passed away because of how hard he had bludgeoned her with the axe. Rosie had survived, but was holding on to her daughter, her deceased daughter, in her hands, just trying to figure out who would do such a thing, especially when they are just sleeping in their home.
Heartbreaking.
That happened on March 10th, 1919. And then there's Steve Boca, August 10th, 1919. He was attacked in his bedroom. His head was also cracked open, but he managed to recover from his injuries, so he did survive.
Okay, that's good.
There was Sarah Lawman, September 3rd, 1919. She was 19 years old. She had a horrible head injury and was missing teeth as well.
Oh.
She does not remember the attack at all, but she did survive. And then there was Mike Pepitone. He was attacked in his home as well, struck in the head after seeing a dark figure looming over his bed. And he was covered in his own blood. Eventually, he had passed away within that same night. But that was the last killing that the Axeman had ever done. So
do you have like a number total of victims?
12, but 6 of them had passed away. The other 6 had just been severely injured.
Okay, that's still a lot, though.
So 12 attacks in total?
Yes.
With a 50% mortality rate, apparently.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There were a lot of different suspects, which is why I don't necessarily want to go into detail about them all, just because there are way too many to count. None of them were charged.
Mm-hmm. There's got to be like a main suspect, though, like a main 2, right?
Yes, there is a main one. His name is Joseph Monfrey. He was shot to death in Los Angeles in 1920.
And is that when they
what did he happen? What?
So Colin Wilson, he was one of the criminologists on the case. He had been kind of speculating over Joseph Monfrey for a while. He'd just been trying to figure out if there was any evidence that would tie him to these murders. There's not too much backstory on Colin Wilson. All that we have is that he is a dark-skinned male, and he was living, again, in Los Angeles at that time. But there's
he got put on the suspect list?
He got put on the suspect list, but again, he was charged with nothing.
Why would someone from Los Angeles get...
No idea.
Did he, travel to New Orleans?
Because at first you said L.A., and I was like, L.A. as in Los Angeles or Louisiana, but Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's definitely Los. But yeah, there's there's nothing that really says why they thought it was him, and that's what I was trying to do research on. Actually, that's what I was trying to figure out, I was like, why he was one of the people on this list. There's a lot of different people on this list, a lot, but again, none of them were convicted, and there's no evidence of really anything when it comes to these murders.
There was also no fingerprints or anything else
nothing. There was nothing.
Which makes you think wore gloves all the time, ready to when they knew they were going to commit a murder.
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know. Reading this, what sucks the most is that, for me, I don't know, all those people had passed away and there was nothing that anyone could have done to find out.
No justice or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from the survivors, none of them could identify him, right? They had no.
No, there was the nieces. They had seen a dark-skinned male in the home, but they didn't catch any facial features, and so all of it was really just
because it's also
they had gotten a glimpse of.
It's New Orleans. Dark-skinned male doesn't really mean anything.
No. Yeah, and I don't know. I was hoping I would find something to kind of be able to connect it with the people that they had on their suspect list, but there's really nothing to tie them together. Which is why I felt they were kind of insignificant to the story. I didn't really mention them.
Did they ever interview anyone about the case? Kind of like a suspect?
Had they interviewed any?
Yeah.
No.
Questioned anyone or anything?
No, they they did question let me find their name, actually. They had questioned... Oh, it was just Mumphrey that they questioned, actually. Joseph, the suspect that had been shot in Los Angeles. They had questioned him, but he had a record of being aggressive and assaulting people. But again, he lived in California, and so there was really no record of him ever going to New Orleans.
That's why I'm wondering, how did he become a suspect then?
Yeah, interesting.
And I get that there was no evidence.
Yeah.
But they had to have found something. I don't know.
The closest thing that they really found is that at one point he did have a charge on him for assault in New Orleans, but it was so long ago that it wasn't anything that they could actually use for the current story or the current case.
So it was more of a one-time
almost like a one-time thing, I guess, for him.
Yeah, years ago you committed this one crime in New Orleans and now you're a suspect in this case.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess the killer, he's delusional, sure, but he's smart.
Yeah,
is what it seems like. Everything was planned. He knew what he was doing, and he never wanted to get caught.
Is there any theories of maybe his profession or anything like that?
Other than there's no other theories as to what he could have been. When I was reading it, I was thinking maybe he's a lumberjack, but there's nothing in
maybe he's a pastor or something.
Yeah, there's nothing in the article or anything that shows that they could kind of indicate what he could have done for anything really for a living.
Do you have the link to his letter that he wrote or anything, or? I
can send you photos of the letter.
Okay.
Or I think I can find a link.
Gonna crack the code.
Yeah. This is the Zodiac Killer all over again.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this would have been the original Zodiac Killer. Because this was 1918? So.
Yeah, 1918 was his first killing.
And the Victorian killer.
Yeah, definitely was. Let me find the. But yeah, my story, it's not too long, so apologize for that. But
No, that's okay.
Is that
I
it?
kind of just yeah, that's it. Yeah. I
Cool.
really just wanted to focus on the victims more than anything, just because I
Yeah.
felt like the suspects or even him didn't really need that much knowledge.
So you said that all his victims were Italian or Italian descent, right?
Yes.
For some reason, to me, that seems like he's Italian.
Right?
No?
Yeah, that's no, literally what I was thinking too, because especially if he's, maybe call me racist, but especially if he's believed to be tied to the mafia, I don't know. I'm like, are you
Or
Italian
like,
yourself?
maybe his parents like abused him when he was a kid, and so now he's like, these Italian people are like substitutes for killing his parents or something.
Internalized racism.
Yeah.
Another theory that I just want to throw out there that might be completely off. It's that if he's Italian, if he works for the Italian mafia, maybe he was just a hitman.
Maybe, and he just took
Not
himself way
good
too
one,
seriously.
And maybe that's why he stopped the killings, because they took him out, because they're like, you're not finishing your jobs.
And that's why he was found in Los Angeles and shot, because they disposed of him there. I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah, he tried to run away from the mafia when they're like, oh, they're going to come after me because they can't kill people. They found him in LA and then they shot him.
Okay, but this is like 1918. It's hard to get from Louisiana to California.
Yeah.
So like, why would...
It was years before.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so confused why he was on the suspect list from the beginning. Because I know there was that one charged in New Orleans, but there's really nothing else that could tie him to it.
Okay, I'm looking at the letter that you just sent us.
Me too.
Yeah.
So I know it's about a murder, but I love the cover art for it.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, actually. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think the likelihood of the actual Axeman having written it exceptionally slim. Huh.
Yeah, there's different theories that it could have been like someone else writing it for him or about him.
Interesting. Yeah.
Seeing if the latest
being as
I am now I'm like I need to solve
invested.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, okay. I even pulled out my mom's tablet and everything. I was like, I gotta dig in.
No, fair.
I'm feeling like Deanna Thompson and John Green right now. I'm doing my my internet.
You're gonna solve a over 100-year-old case.
I am actually.
No, I like that. I'm gonna have to check it out in more detail after.
Yeah, I'm sorry it's such like a short story.
No, you're good.
I found it really interesting.
Yeah, no, that was captivating.
Yes, I completely forgot about that case until you brought it up, and I was like, they have that man in American Horror Story.
Yeah, I've never heard about it before. I was gonna do.
I don't know if you're gonna watch it or not, or spoilers. No, I'm not gonna say it. Just watch it.
Oh.
It's a good series. So watch it.
I don't even know what it's on. What's it on?
Through the window.
I'll figure it out.
I think they have them both on Hulu and Netflix, or it might be.
That's the one with Evan Peters and right?
I think so.
Okay.
Is it?
I don't know. It has Vera Farmiga's sister in it too, right?
Yeah, they have Evan Peters in it. He's in a lot of the seasons. It's nice.
Podcast listeners, have you watched American Horror Story?
Yeah. Let us know.
Comment now.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going to comment at, but...
Send us an email. Send us an email about your...
Go to our website and fill out our form.
Oh, yes, they're smart, actually.
What is it? www.chambersoftheoccult.
The occult.
Yeah. You don't necessarily have to type in the W, but yeah.
No, you got to make it extra dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah, or if you
Also,
have...
send in suggestions and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of cases for us to cover, but if you give us suggestions, we know what you want to hear.
Yeah. And we will improve over time. Like, that is... our stories will get better, our coverage will get better, and the more you guys are interested in these cases, the more we're going to be interested too. So
yeah, the more we're going to dig deeper into them.
Yeah,
and
definitely going to get comfortable with it.
Alexis wasn't muted this time either.
I
Improvement
wasn't.
already. Improvement already.
I'm not very talkative, podcast listeners. I'm sorry, but I'll try my
Podcast
best.
listeners.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Okay.
we need a name for our listeners.
I know, we need like a little cute fan name for
I
them.
think that they
We're
can
gonna call
name
them Stay.
No.
Don't trust them to name themselves.
I don't
They're
think they're
old,
gonna
huh?
come up with good names.
The occultist.
That's why we live it to them, so we don't come
I was
up
gonna
with
say occultist too.
occultist.
It's kind of
No.
fun. I don't know. Let us know what
No.
you think.
Yeah.
We'll put that on the table for now.
Okay.
We'll see
Yeah.
if they take it or leave it.
Like, subscribe, turn on that bell if you like occultist.
Ready to move on to my story?
All right.
Yes.
Story number 3.
Thank you for listening to my story of the Axeman of non-links. Continue.
Thank you for telling us.
Take it away, Jay.
Okay, so wow, both of those were heavy stories. First of all, I had a feeling for some reason I had a feeling that they would be heavy stories.
Okay. So you brought a light one to counteract it?
We did murder.
Yeah, we both did murder, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine, because I actually have the paranormal story.
Okay.
Cool.
So we do have some spooky stuff in here. Mine's a little bit more lighthearted.
Good.
If there's murder, that's for you to decide, yes or no. Not really.
I'll be the judge of that.
It's not a recent story. It's not as old as Alexis, not as recent as Kai's. This one takes place in the 1930s.
Oh, I thought you meant not as old as Alexis, as in like her age.
Oh, as old as me?
Your story. Apologies.
Excuse me. I'm
yes,
only
it's an age
20.
just between the both of you. No.
So wait, you said it's in the 80s?
1930s.
No, 30s.
30s.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a few years after the axe murder man that disappears, and years before your story, Kai.
Yeah.
So for this one, we're actually going to go over the big pond. We're going to go to the British Isles.
Okay.
So in the British Isles, there is an island called the Isle of Man. And just like last week, Alexis told a story about a farmhouse. Tonight, we're going to a farmhouse.
Okay.
I love farmhouses.
They're amazing.
So this story revolves around a mysterious creature. And he's often being referred to as the Dalby Spook.
Whoa.
There's another name, but I will say that later because I don't want to
Spoiler.
give it away yet. But one of the nicknames that is given to this creature is the Dalby Spook. Okay, so picture this. The Isle of Man in the 1930s. It's a tranquil island set in the Irish Sea. The island is known for its rugged coastlines, medieval castles, and rural landscapes. So the family that's affected by this, they're known as the Irving. Irving?
That's hard to say. That's deceptively hard to say. Whoa.
I don't know.
No, try to say that.
Irving.
Irving?
They're not pirates. They're farmers.
There's 2 wolves inside of him.
The Irving family.
Okay.
And unfortunately, their lives would be forever changed because of this creature. So the farmhouse was known as Cashin's Gap. That was the name that was given to it. And the family was quite small. It consisted of James Irving, who was the father, the farmer, a former traveling salesman, and then his wife, Margaret. And they had one daughter who was a teenager, and her name was Voyery.
Okay. Interesting name.
Yeah. Kind of like
yeah.
it, though.
Yeah.
Not as Irving. Now, the Irons were just like a nice family that was well known in their community. They were known for being hard workers and down to earth. And their life was just like regular, nothing eventful happening really. But unfortunately, the events that would start happening would make them known not only in the island, but worldwide. So the story begins in 1931 when the Irving family started to hear persistent sounds around their farmhouse. And the noises weren't the typical noises that you would hear in a house. They included knocking, rustling, and scratching sounds within the walls.
Okay.
Now, when this started, initially James Irving, James, let's just call him James.
James.
Yes.
Speculated, yes, that'll be easier. He speculated that there might be like rats or like small animals within like the walls. So on Sunday, September 13th, he heard something very similar to like a mouse. And he was looking in the attic, but there was no sign of any animal up there. He did end up finding a little like wooden carved statue that he thought he had like misplaced. But it was just an attic for some reason. So he took that out of the attic. Yeah. And then a couple weeks later, James started to hear some cackling.
Oh.
Okay.
So it goes from like rustling and what you think might be like a rat, and then like a couple weeks later, there's like
voice cackling.
Oh yeah. God.
I would leave like right then and there. Like get me out.
Oh yeah.
Now, and again, this is like the 1930s, so like what we now know, it's like, oh, that's something paranormal. They probably didn't.
Oh, so true.
Maybe they did if they were religious and like they went to church and like they told them stories of like sounds like that at church. But like from what I could find out, they just heard cackling and they were like, it's something in the wall.
Something like a weird animal. Something.
Yeah. So in addition to the cackling, James started to hear stones being thrown at the door. So like, you know, like when like in movies, like there's like little pebbles being thrown at
like that.
It was like at the door.
Oh my gosh, I don't like that.
That's
okay, you're gonna dislike this as well.
Okay.
One night, James, he was sleeping, and he felt that something spit on him.
Oh, what? The disrespect. I'm so sorry, but the disrespect.
While he's sleeping, bro, come on.
Yeah, and that's what
you're sleeping and like,
oh my god,
spits on you.
At least wake me up before you spit on me. Wait, what?
And then throughout the house, he found wet patches through the house, almost as if someone had peed in the house.
What?
What?
Yeah, I know.
Maybe. Never.
Honestly, this is just kind of sounding like my puppy. Like, you know, like drooled on in the middle of the night, pee throughout the house.
That's Jasper.
Yeah. So unfortunately, everything would take a turn because the noises, you know, through time, they would start evolving more and more. And then one night, the family heard a faint voice.
No.
Yep. And it was unlike anything they've heard before. Initially, the voice was unclear. But over time, it became more distinct and articulate. So somehow during this time, they eventually started hearing words.
Yeah.
And things were getting tossed around in the house as well.
So,
what was
pack
that?
my shit. I'm leaving.
Honestly, you lived your whole life in this little farm. Where are you gonna go?
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
And I'll live in a shed. I'll live in a cardboard box.
And then there was an incident where James and Vory, they said to have seen like a smallish rat-like animal. But the weird thing, they said that the feet resembled human hands.
I don't like that at
raccoon.
all. So...
And that they were the size of like a doll. You know how like dolls have like small hands?
What? Yeah.
That they were about that size, but like a big doll.
Just like pick them up.
Now, James, when he saw that there was like a rat animal in the house, decided to name the rat Jack. You know, just so they would have like something to call it.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Solid.
So James named it Jack, and he decided to hunt for it. And he decided that he was going to poison this animal. So he poisoned some bread, and he laid it out. So he left the bread out. And then later that night, they went to sleep. And for almost 20 minutes, they heard horrible screaming, like a dying animal.
Oh.
What?
Jack, no.
No, yeah, I can see that makes me kind of sad.
But the day later, the noises continued. So they were still happening. They just heard someone in pain the night before, and then the next day the sounds were back, like active.
Oh my god!
Now you really pissed that thing off, like.
Yeah. So this is where we actually have like I wouldn't say a conversation, but like it speaks. So it was one of the nights after the Jack got poisoned. Voiri was in her room. Voiri is a teenage daughter, and she hears a voice, and the voice tells her, "I am a ghost in the form of a weasel, and I shall haunt you with weird noises and clanking chains."
So it wasn't actually going to like harm them. It was just messing with them.
So at this point, this teenage girl Voiri, she's just frightened, you know? Yeah. She's like, there's something that just told me this, a voice I recognize. So she told her parents that same night. And the parents, to solve the issue, they started to disassemble her bed, and they were going to move it into their own bedroom so Voiri can sleep in the room with them. Okay. They're like, you're not sleeping alone. Like, if what if here able to talk, like, we're not letting you in your room by yourself.
The parents.
Yeah. So as they were disassembling the bed, the parents also heard the creature because it yelled out, "I will follow her wherever you move her."
She's got a buddy.
Nah.
One that she might not want. So that night, you know, as they were disassembling that bed and they moved it into their own room, they locked themselves in their master bedroom. And they had boxes stacked against the door. But there was something pushing against the door from the other side.
Oh.
Like it was pushing with tremendous force. Like you could tell like the door was shaking.
Oh God.
And then that night, James, the father, you know, seeing all this happen and hearing voices, that's when he decided, because he tried poisoning this Jack the night before, that he might have better luck befriending him rather than poisoning him.
Smart.
Valid, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can't beat them, join them.
Yeah. You know, try it. Yeah. Give it a shot. Yeah.
So then James decided to start leaving food out for Jack. He left him food like chocolate, bananas, bacon, you know, what they had at the end, apparently.
Yeah.
He would eat apparently the chocolate, banana, and bacon would go missing. But whenever he left out any type of bread, like the bread would be untouched.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, how would he trust that the food is like fine?
No, like he trusted everything but the bread, because you know it's like
he was poisoned by it.
Fine, shame on me, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the thing would take the food. And then one day, James found parts of rabbits stacked against the walls in the yard.
Oh.
Yeah. So not the full rabbit, just parts of the rabbit, like in the yard.
What the hell?
Oh my god.
And then Jack finally introduced himself for the first time to the family in early January 1932.
Okay.
And first of all, he said that he didn't like the name Jack.
Valid.
And he named himself Jeff.
He named
That's
himself
so much
what?
better. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But as he spelled out his name, I guess he was not good with grammar. His name is spelled G-E-F.
I love that. I love that for him. What?
Yeah.
I kind of love Jeff. What?
Yeah.
And then he claimed to
He's
be a
just a sweetie.
mongoose. He claimed to be a mongoose born in New Delhi, India, on June
First
7th.
he's a weasel, now he's a mongoose.
I
Yeah,
know,
so
that's what I'm saying.
So he ended up claiming that he's a mongoose born in New Delhi, India, on June 7th of 1852, making him a Gemini. Which could tell why he's so one way
He just
or
wants to
another.
be loved.
Yeah. So now that you know his name, Jeff, this is the story of Jeff,
His name Jeff.
the mongoose. Yeah, and after he introduced himself to the family as Jeff and told them where he was from, he's like, I was born in New Delhi, India on this year. He told them, I am not a spirit. I am a little extra clever mongoose. I am a ghost in the form of a weasel, and I shall hunt you with weird noises and clanking chains. Oh, the clanking chains does not apply. That was part of what he's told Voyery. But he just told the family, I am not a spirit. I'm a little extra clever mongoose.
What?
Yeah.
Jeff the mongoose.
You ever heard of Jeff the mongoose?
No.
Cool, good. I was telling you this was going to be a different story. So Jeff tried to explain, his arrival to the Isle of Man, and it was just a bizarre story, and as mysterious as his existence. Because another quote from Jeff. I have a lot of quotes from Jeff. Like, he loved to talk.
I want to hear them.
Jeff said,
Yeah.
I am a freak. I have hands and I have feet. And if you saw me, you'd faint. You'd be petrified, mummified, turn into a stone or a pillar of salt.
Honestly, kind of poetic.
He
Honestly,
has,
yeah.
sass to him.
I like this guy.
It does sound like after James tried to befriend him that, Jeff was like, okay, I'm going to talk to you because you're not going to try to poison me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The Irvings, the family, described Jeff as a small weasel-like creature, capable of moving at high speeds and squeezing into narrow spaces within the house. Yeah. So he was said to be the size of a small rat with a yellowish fur and a bushy tail.
This is so insane.
He's just a little mongoose.
Yeah. So what made Jeff truly remarkable was not just his ability to speak.
He's a talking mongoose.
Yeah. That was not where it stopped. There was more to him because his knowledge of events and topics were far beyond the scope of the family's experience and knowledge. He will talk to them in English, of course, but occasionally he would throw phrases from other languages. And he would demonstrate the understanding of the world beyond the farmhouse walls. So he spoke, it's quite a list. So he spoke English, French, German, Russian, Yiddish, Welsh, Flemish, Spanish, and Hebrew.
Not
Bomb.
Romanian.
No.
I'm
Jeff
kidding. That's so. Yeah. Go on.
Go ahead.
Kai and go.
What? Oh, I said Jeff is an icon.
Honestly,
He really is.
So, with time, the family became more accustomed to Jeff's presence, and they found him to be more of a talking animal. He would reportedly guard the house. He would actually tell the family when visitors were approaching. So, like, if someone was approaching, like, to the farm, and, like, Jeff would tell the family before they even knew someone was coming to visit them.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he was like a ring camera with like zoom or like light. He would also where am I? Oh, he was also helpful and playful throughout the house as well. And other times as a Gemini, he was irritable and mischievous.
So valid.
Yeah, here's some more quotes from Jeff. So this is one of the quotes that I don't know if it would frighten you or it would just make you think, what? He told the family, I'll split the atom. I am the fifth dimension. I am the eighth wonder of the world.
Yeah, you are, Jeff. Yeah, you are.
Honestly, he and the Axeman are sounding kind of similar right now.
Honestly, Jeff is
Jeff?
the we saw.
Jeff is the Axeman.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
We solved it. We solved it.
Actually,
We solved it.
his next quote. So he also said, if you are kind to me, I will bring you good luck. If you are not, I shall kill all your poultry. I can get them wherever you put them.
Okay. Talk your talk, Jeff.
So valid. So
Bro just wants to be loved. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I relate.
Just like, yeah.
Yeah, so he was said to often sleep in Voiry's room. And like I mentioned, he would eat bacon, sausage. He would also leave the house. He would ride the bus, and he would bring back gossip about the neighbors.
Dude, I love Jeff.
He's kind of a homie,
yeah. So like, I don't know like what
real.
Jeff, because it's like he's not a minion because like he'll fuck with you, but like he's just kind of cool.
So real.
I'm so glad you like kept us a surprise.
No,
yeah, thank you.
I was like, you guys need like a light-hearted story. Here it is. And then sometimes, like you'd be talking to Jeff, and when Jeff was like done with the conversation, he would yell out, "Vanish!" And that's how he would end the conversation. We're not sure if it's like he vanished himself or like vanish of like, leave me alone, I'm done talking. But they heard that multiple times. Yeah.
This is
go ahead.
so insane. I'm sorry. This is like such a crazy but awesome story. Okay, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So so not only was he good at speaking and like gathering gossip, but he was described as also being somewhat of a mimic, because he would be able to mimic other animals and even inanimate objects. And his laughter and singing were often heard resonating throughout the farmhouse. So like if you were on one side of the farmhouse and Jeff's side, you could still hear him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he claimed to be able to read as well.
Dude, this mongoose is sick.
That's what I'm saying.
See, but like, I didn't put it here, but I did read it. I did hear it through, I think it was like a YouTube thing. During those times that like Jeff goes out into like the public to collect information, I guess he heard something that he didn't like from the neighbors, like talking bad about the Iron family. And he killed all their poultry.
God.
Oh my god.
So that's why I'm like, he's great, but at the same time, I'm like, he's not just gonna like be a relaxed little whatever he is in the house.
Mongoose.
Yeah. I have some more quotes from Jeff.
Damn.
Another thing he said, I have been to nice places, seen nice things. I have been to London, I have been to Egypt, and I have been to Rome, and I have crossed the Arctic Ocean.
Damn, he's traveled.
Yeah.
Sorry, but like,
and I feel like this is when he's kind of like threatened the family of like, you gotta treat me better, because he says, I have been to nicer places than this. Carpets, piano, satin covers on polished tables. I'm going back there. Hump.
Wow.
This mongoose.
This mongoose.
Yeah, this mongoose.
Yeah. So some other roles that he contributed to the household sometimes. He would guard the house. He would inform the family of approaching visitors. Sometimes he would even repeat conversations that he overheard.
Oh.
Because, you know, he can mimic voices, so you would be hearing the voices of...
What?
Yeah.
Kind of like a Jabberjay.
Sick. A Jabberjay? No way. You just brought Hunger Games into this.
Josh Hutcherson.
Uh,
Anyways, sorry.
Wow, you found a way to like shove him in.
Yeah, we brought him up last episode. Now he's here again.
No,
that's crazy.
No. Anyways.
But in addition to like being able to repeat conversations that he overheard, he also claimed to help with chores. The family would sometimes have instances where Jeff would throw objects at them. But they rarely saw him during this interaction. It's kind of like, because he was so fast, apparently like it was just like a blur, like something get thrown at them, and then they see a blur, or they see the blur and then something thrown at them. Another fun quote that he's had, I kind of just love this one. He says, "Put the bloody gramophone on." So maybe he wanted to hear jazz.
I love this. Yeah, he knew of the Axeman.
Yeah,
and he knew jazz needed to be on immediately.
Yeah, the family often said as well that if they forgot to put the fire out, like the stove, Jeff would go down there and he would put the fire out.
Oh my god.
So it's kind of like those stories of like, you know, like if you have an elf in the house and you do everything, they'll help you with chores. But if you're lazy, they won't do anything. It sounds like maybe Jeff was
sweet,
just
actually.
a helper if, you know, he was respected.
Oh, I can't hear you guys. Okay.
Oh.
Okay,
Alexis.
I can hear. I can hear you.
Alexis.
I can hear you guys now.
Okay, cool.
Another thing is that Jeff would also wake up the family if they overslept.
Dude, I need that.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Man, he's really sounding like my puppy.
But like
now.
how?
Oh.
Anyways.
He's a mongoose.
Just like Jasper for real.
What?
Whoa! What do you mean by that?
Okay, we're kind of derailing right now. I think we need to get back on topic.
Get back on track.
You're good. Some other roles that Jeff had in the house. Also, when mice got into the house, Jeff supposedly assumed the role of the cat. So rather than killing the mouse, he would prefer to scare them, though.
What?
Yep. And
I kind of fuck with Jeff.
Yeah. So
he was kind of scary at first, but
no, yeah. I mean, the way I started telling the story and everything, I'm like, yeah, It sounded like it was leading to like a demonic like entity.
Yeah, I know, it literally did.
And I'm gonna
Yeah.
scare you with rattling chains and weird noises.
He's just a silly little guy.
Yeah, and the way that they actually left the food for Jeff was quite interesting because they would put all the food, like biscuits, chocolates, all that stuff, in a little saucer, but the saucer would be suspended from the ceiling. Like from a tree or two or something like that. And Jeff would take the food when he thought that no one was watching.
Mm.
That's a camellish guy too.
And then the family also said that Jeff would regularly accompany them to trips to the market.
Sick.
But he would always stay on the other side of the hedges.
Oh, so he wouldn't be seen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, he was helpful, but he had a mischievous nature. He would often hide objects, which is why that little carved statue was in the attic.
Yeah.
And he would only reveal the location.
It was some like demonic offering or something. So
no, yeah. I mean, it didn't sound like that when I first put it like that. But he would only like hide them for a while, and he would reveal them later. And of course, despite his size, his presence was quite significant to the family. He provided both assistance and amusement. And then I have a few little snippets from people that heard from Jeff, and they were conducting interviews and all sorts of things. It went all over the place. So a quote from a paranormal expert says, Jeff's case is unique in the animals of the paranormal. His ability to speak and interact with the family goes beyond what we usually see in poltergeist activity. It suggests a higher level of intelligence and intention.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now, yeah. There were also, of course, some people that were skeptical. I was like, isn't that what you call your glasses? There were people that were like, oh, it's a hoax. For example, a historian once said, the 1930s were a time of great interest in the supernatural in Britain. The story of Jeff fits in this era's fascination with the unexplained. It reflects the social tensions and the search for meaning beyond the material world. Now, a folklore specialist said, Jeff might be seen as a modern manifestation of the traditional trickster figure found in folklore. His playful, unsettling behavior aligns with characters of this mythical entities. And that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, this case kind of went all over the world. It caught the media's attention. The story of Jeff the Talking Mongoose swiftly caught the attention of the media, both local and international. Newspapers began to report the strange happenings of the farmhouse, often with a mix of skepticism.
There we
go. And the case of the talking mongoose living with the family in the Isle of Man was, of course, sensational, and it captured the public's imagination. Headlines range from curious and whimsical to just outright ridiculous, because, of course, it really depends what quote you're pulling from Jeff.
Yeah.
There was also a radio news clip that said, in a small farmhouse on the Isle of Man, a family claims to be living with the extraordinary creature, a talking mongoose named Jeff. This story, bizarre as it might seem, has become the talk of the town, attracting curiosities from far and wide.
Stop
it. So the family were, getting known because of Jeff. Like, they were just humble farmers.
Yeah.
And then Jeff kind of came in and it's like, hey, here's a spotlight. There's also a
Jeff's the homie.
Yeah, he is. I like Jeff. I personally do like Jeff.
Yeah, me too.
So there was another newspaper clipping that said, The Irving's story of their unusual house guests has not only mystified locals, but also has granted attention across seas. It is a clever hoax, an unexplained phenomenon, or something else. The mystery of Jeff continues to baffle and fascinate.
Dude, your voice.
The way you narrated that,
Yeah.
So about that, because it's kind of like I did for like Halloween, but also like the way I kind of got to that voice, it's like that announcer from The Legend of Korra. Like that newscaster. I don't know. It's kind of like somewhat nasally, but also a little bit fast and just fun.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I like it.
But of course, there was also paranormal investigators that came to the house. And actually, someone quite, well known for his work showed up to investigate the house and the case. Have you guys ever heard of Harry Price?
No.
I might have.
Okay.
Sounds kind of.
We can cover him in another episode because like he covered a few. He was well known. He was like renowned. He was a renowned ghost hunter and a psychical research as well. Now, Price visited the farmhouse and he conducted a series of investigations. He collected hair samples, he took photographs, he took records of testimonies, and Price remained cautiously open-minded, though he leaned more towards being more of a skeptic, suggesting the possibility of a ventriloquist or a hoax.
Oh.
Yeah, so he sent all the... Go ahead.
No, you keep going.
Okay, so he sent all those samples, like the hair samples and all that stuff, to the lab. And the lab said that the hair was dog hair. The family did have 2 dogs. One of them died, but they still had another one. So they just collected the dog from hair. They also collected some paw prints, but the lab said that the paw prints didn't match any of the animals that they had on their database.
Okay.
And Price also collected some animal bites on the bacon. And the lab said once again that the animal bites on the bacon didn't match any of the animals.
Well.
So while the hair might have been of the dog, the paw prints and the bite marks did not match the animal whatsoever. So when Price decided to look between the walls, because that's where all the sounds were coming from, he noticed that there was, quite a large amount of space between the walls, enough for something to go through the walls. And then another investigator, Richard S. Lambert, he was a BBC producer. He also took an interest in the case. And Lambert conducted interviews and investigated the site. But just like Pierce, he struggled to draw like a definitive conclusion because they couldn't really figure anything else. And then a quote from one of the paranormal researchers said, the Jeff case was a challenge for investigators. Despite the numerous visits and examinations, no one could conclusively prove or disprove Jeff's existence. It remains one of the most perplexing cases in paranormal research.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so like they're like, we can't prove it, but we can't like say
disprove it.
Yeah. It's kind of like we're kind of just stuck with what we have.
Jeff, the talking mongoose, lives on, I guess.
Yeah. Now there is some like theories of motivation why the family might have created Jeff. Some experts just suggest that creating a story like Jeff could provide a sense of purpose or excitement to an otherwise routine life. And for a young girl like Voyery, Jeff might have been an imaginary friend who took on the life of his own in the family narrative.
Yeah.
Now, there was a theory that Voyery was really good at throwing her voice like a ventriloquist, and that Voyery herself could be doing all this.
Like, all of it?
Yeah.
But they were like, it doesn't make sense. Like, there's so much
There's so much going on, and she's a little kid.
Yeah, and like, for example, there's she's a teenager, but there's also the time where like they got locked into the parents' bedroom and like something was pushing against the door.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if Voyeur was doing just a voice, that'd be, understandable. But there's so many other things happening, like things getting hidden and then brought back, the bite marks, the gossip from the neighbors' poultry dying. So that was one of the theories, but it was like never confirmed if Voyeur could actually like throw her voice as a ventriloquist. It's just, from what I heard, like that was the popular theory, but there was no really like evidence to show that Voyeur ever wanted to be a ventriloquist.
No, like I get the theory, but also that just doesn't feel like it explains it for me.
No,
it's just that's why like one of the paranormal investigators, they're like, we just can't really figure out what it is. So with that all being said, let's kind of wrap up with what happened to Jeff. Because Margaret and Voyeur, Margaret was the mother, Voyeur was the daughter. They left the home in 1945. It all started in 1931. 1931. In 1945, about 15 years later, they moved out because James, their husband and father, unfortunately passed away. So they had to sell the family farm, and they moved out. Unfortunately, they sold the farmhouse at a loss because of the reputation of the house being haunted. But they sold the farm to a man known as Leslie Graham, and he was a motorcycle racer.
Oh, that's cool.
Whoa, that's so cool.
So he wasn't scared by, whatever haunted thing was in the house. Also, I just want to clarify that during this whole media and press and like word getting around town, the family didn't profit whatsoever.
Oh.
There was no, there were like, they didn't get paid for anything.
Okay.
So
that kind of changes things a little.
Yeah, because if someone was doing all that and then you see that they're taking advantage, they're writing books, they're doing movies, TVs, interviews, make a profit. The family never profited from Jeff the Mongoose. And as I just said, after James passed away, Margaret and Voyeur had to sell the farmhouse at a loss. So they didn't even make a profit selling that.
They didn't.
Yeah. So it was the year after they sold the house in 1946 that Leslie Graham, who bought the farm, he talked to the press and he claimed that he had shot and killed Jeff.
No! Why?
What did Jeff ever do to you, Leslie Graham?
No, seriously.
So there was also there was also a picture of this. I know. I was also like,
there's a picture?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry. No, go on.
Okay. So the picture that Leslie Graham showed of the body displayed, the picture was of Graham and he was holding a black and white and much larger animal than the mongoose. And when Voyeur saw the picture, she was like relief because she's like, that's not Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he killed just another animal in the house or in the vicinity, but it wasn't Jeff.
Sad that he killed an animal. Happy it wasn't Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Jeff.
Since then, like right now, if you were to go visit, it's
you can visit?
No, because the farmhouse was destroyed.
No.
So there's no remain of the farmhouse whatsoever. And unfortunately, Voyeur died in 2005. But in an interview published later in her life, she maintained that Jeff was not her creation. So like, even years later after they moved out, she's like, nope, we didn't make Jeff up. Like, this was real for us. And
okay, this is completely unrelated.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is completely unrelated, but like, imagine the difference of like, from like 1930 to 2005. Like, she experienced all that amount of time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the changes in
crazy.
literally the world in that period of time. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Anyway,
really...
sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And that's the story of Jeff the Talking Mongoose.
Wow.
I'm clapping.
We
I don't
love
know
Jeff.
if the mic picked it up.
Yeah, so
that was a good way to end it. Oh, you know what? That was a good third story.
Definitely, yeah.
That definitely picked me back up a lot.
Good.
Like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but like that picked me back up a lot. So
yeah, no, I could tell that as well. I'm glad that I picked it. I wasn't sure when I wanted to throw this story into the mix.
It worked out.
I had a feeling. I was like, last week, like the first episode, there were some dark stories. I was like, we're going to have some dark stories this time. Let me throw in something fun in there. I was like, what's fun? I was like, oh, Jeff. I was like, no one dies other than that animal in the end. That's not Jeff.
Yeah.
We love Jeff. Oh my God. I want a Jeff. Where can I get one?
Good point. No one knows what happened to Jeff after.
Wow.
The family moved out, you know,
maybe
the mom and daughter, and like he didn't follow them wherever they went. So maybe he went back to London or Egypt.
Maybe he did.
Maybe. Honestly, as long as he's living la vida loca, that's all I care about.
Oh, he definitely is. Jeff the Talking Mongoose.
Yeah.
Mongoose.
It's my role model.
He's a fun guy.
He is a fun guy.
Damn, I wonder how he survived the poison, though.
Seriously, badass.
Because he screamed for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. And then he screamed again the next day.
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, I'm good now. And then everything was fine.
No biggie.
I mean, I'm kind of glad that they befriended him, because befriending him like gave us this whole story of like, we're now living with this talking mongoose, and he gives us all the gossip on the neighbors and the town folks.
That's so insane to think. Like, that is so insane to think about.
Yeah. And it's a completely different story. Like no other like paranormal story you hear of like poltergeists or hauntings. It's never like this interactive with the family.
Yeah.
Like in a fun way.
Crazy. That's so fun, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like it's all like demonic or like bad. It's never just like, there's a talking mongoose who helps us with our chores around the house. Like,
yeah.
It's like, don't talk shit about us. The mongoose we have is going to kill your poultry.
I mean, it's kind of scary. It's like, disrespect me, I'll kill your poultry. But like...
Yeah, and it's like, you never knew what Jeff you were getting. If you were getting the fun one or if you were getting the mischievous one.
Okay, but like, if Jeff is going to threaten to kill your poultry like that, that's kind of scary. He has like...
Oh yeah, like especially after you've seen everything else happen.
Oh yeah, how would you be trust that he's not going to kill you?
Fair.
It's Jeff, man.
I didn't even think about. I'm gonna go so dark.
Okay, yeah. I'll stay away from there. Yeah.
No, you're good. No, but the one person that said, you know, Jeff could be considered a trickster. If you look back in history, I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. I was like, I guess that's what Jeff is. You know, like he can be mischievous sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, should we wrap it up?
I think we should.
Cool. So, thanks to everyone for tuning into the second episode.
Thank you
so much. If you stuck around, you are glorious, and we love you forever.
Yeah, let us know that you stuck around till the end.
Yeah. What's a word that they should comment if they stuck around?
Beer.
Mongoose? I don't know.
Oh, mongoose, yeah.
Because
Jeff.
Yeah, actually, send us the word mongoose somewhere in that message.
Or Jeff.
Just randomly. Like, my name is, like, Albert Mongoose. You know.
What would your guys' names be if you were a talking mongoose? Jay, Alexis?
Mongolia.
That's racist.
I think mine would just be Zed.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, mine would be Emmy. EMY.
Okay.
Ah.
Mine would be...
Don't ask me why.
To be like responsible for his own name, and then he just spelled GEF.
I love it.
What's your name?
Sounded it out like Jeff GEF. E-F.
I don't know. My name would be like John or something. But like,
Oh, also real quick,
like
John the
J-O-N.
mongoose.
there is a movie about Jeff the talking mongoose.
There is?
Yes.
There is.
It came out last year, I think.
That's so
From what I heard,
solid.
it's
I'm looking
not-
that up right now.
From what I've heard, it's not
Okay.
super accurate. So take it with like a
grain
handful
of salt.
a handful of salt.
Yeah, it came out September last year.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
my
actually,
God.
if you stuck around this long, the word that you should send us on the email should be a handful of salt. Yeah, but send us your story. We'll eventually start telling them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any help, anything you think we should
Feedback.
add or anything, any feedback, greatly appreciated.
Yeah, follow us. Check out chambersoftheoccult.com. We have all our social links
.com.
there. Yeah, .com. We have our Facebook page link there, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We'll start putting stuff on TikTok eventually as well.
Yeah.
Send us Miatas on Facebook Marketplace.
What? What did you just say?
Miatas. Send
Like
us
the car?
Miatas. Yeah.
Oh, send us Miata listings on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
What?
We're on a
Random.
mission.
Send them
Okay.
to Alexis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Direct them to Alexis in our contact form. I don't know.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate
All
it.
right.
Well,
Well-
thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.